The UES makeshift miracle hung in the void like a question mark in space. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on her bridge, which was less of a command center and more of a repurposed cargo hold, watching the approaching celestial Concordat fleet through a window that had once been part of a luxury cruise liner. Their ships gleamed like polished diamonds against the black of space, each one a masterpiece of advanced engineering. "They're hailing us again," Lieutenant James Cooper announced from his station, which consisted of 3 different console systems jury-rigged together with what looked suspiciously like duct tape and hope. "Should I put them through?" Elena brushed a strand of gray-streaked hair from her face and straightened her jacket, a modified pressure suit that had seen better days. "Might as well let them have another laugh." The main screen flickered to life, revealing High Commander Ixel of the Celestial Concordat. The alien's crystalline features arranged themselves into what Elena had learned was their equivalent of a condescending smile. "Captain Rodriguez, I must once again express my concern about your vessel's participation in this joint defense initiative." Behind Ixel, Elena could see other Concordat officers trying to hide their amusement. The makeshift miracle was a stark contrast to their pristine vessels, where they had smooth, organic lines and seamless construction. The human ship looked like someone had taken several different vessels, melted them together, and then welded on whatever else happened to be lying around. Which, to be fair, wasn't far from the truth. "Your concern is noted, High Commander," Elena replied diplomatically. "But Earth's United Engineering Service stands ready to assist, as per our treaty obligations." "Assist?" Another officer stepped into view. Fleet Engineer Zareth, their chief designer. "Your vessel appears to be holding itself together through what your species calls prayer. Those exposed support struts alone violate 17 different Concordat safety protocols." Elena shared a knowing look with her chief engineer, Maria Vasquez, who was currently hanging upside down in a maintenance shaft, rewiring something that probably shouldn't have needed rewiring. Maria gave a thumbs up and went back to her work, humming an old Earth tune. "We find that prayer is an excellent supplement to proper engineering practices," Elena replied with a straight face, "especially when combined with sufficient application of reinforced titanium alloy and emergency patch protocols." Before Zareth could respond, alarms blared across both ships. Lieutenant Cooper's console sparked dramatically, which was normal, as he read the incoming data. Multiple quantum ruptures detected. Massive energy signatures. "Captain, these readings match the theoretical patterns off." Void Scourge, High Commander Ixel finish, their crystalline features losing their luster. "Impossible. They were supposed to be contained in the Carina sector." The space around them tore open like wet paper, revealing massive shapes that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The Void Scourge, living ships that consumed energy and matter alike, had found them. Elena watched as the first wave of attacks hit the Concordat fleet's energy shields, their perfect defenses flickering under the assault. "Hard to contain something that doesn't play by the rules," Elena muttered, then raised her voice. "All hands, battle stations. Maria, is that thing we talked about ready?" "Ready as it'll ever be." Maria's voice echoed through the comm. "Though I still say it's crazy." "Crazy is what we do best." Elena turned back to the screen, where High Commander Ixel was barking orders to their fleet. "High Commander, request permission to take point on this one. We've got an idea." "An idea?" Zareth scoffed. "Your vessel can barely maintain stable flight. What could you possibly—" "Permission granted," Ixel interrupted, surprising everyone. "The Concordat's conventional tactics are proving ineffective." Elena grinned. "Cooper, fire up the SCRAP system. Maria, divert power to the magnetic salvage arrays. Let's show them why humans never throw anything away." The makeshift miracle's patchwork hull began to hum with energy as hidden panels slid open, revealing what appeared to be massive magnetic grappling systems cobbled together from mining equipment. The Void Scourge ships, drawn to energy emissions, turned their attention to the human vessel. They're taking the bait, Cooper reported. Scrap system at full power. What exactly is this scrap system? Ixel demanded. Synchronized collection and repurposing of aggressive particles, Alina explained as her ship began to glow with an odd pulsing light. But really, it's just a fancy way of saying we turned our garbage collection system into a weapon. Those things feed on energy. Fine. Let's give them indigestion. The makeshift Miracle launched itself toward the nearest Void Scourge vessel, its magnetic arrays humming with power. The alien ship, expecting to feed on energy emissions, instead found itself being bombarded with a carefully calculated mix of radioactive waste, metallic debris, and what appeared to be several thousand tons of expired emergency rations. The thing about the Void Scourge, Alina explained to the stunned Concordat officers, is that they're too perfect. They evolved to consume pure energy. But humans, we've spent centuries figuring out how to deal with waste, impurities, and things that don't work quite right. Sometimes the best weapon isn't a perfect beam of energy. It's the stuff you were going to throw away anyway. The Void Scourge vessel writhed as its absorption fields choked on the contaminated matter, its perfect form beginning to break down under the assault of humanity's refuse. On the Concordat ship's screens, the impossible was happening. The unstoppable Void Scourge was being poisoned by garbage. Impossible, Zar-Ith whispered. You've weaponized imperfection. We prefer to call it creative recycling, Alina replied, watching as more Void Scourge ships began to retreat from the battlefield. Now about those safety protocols you mentioned. Would you like to hear our thoughts on the tactical applications of properly applied duct tape? Your ship is an abomination against the laws of physics, Fleet Engineer Zar-Ith declared, their crystalline form reflecting the chaotic array of lights in the makeshift Miracle's engineering bay. The alien engineer had insisted on inspecting the human vessel after its successful defense against the Void Scourge, though their expression suggested they were already regretting this decision. Maria Vasquez grinned as she welded another patch onto what might have once been a luxury cruise liner's waste recycling system. Laws of physics are more like guidelines anyway. Pass me that quantum spanner. She pointed to a tool that appeared to be 3 different devices held together with colorful rubber bands. Zar-Ith's crystalline features rearranged themselves into what humans had learned was their equivalent of a horrified grimace. That is not a quantum spanner. That's not even a proper tool. It's effective, Maria suggested, catching the makeshift tool as it was reluctantly handed over. You know, back on Earth, we have this saying, necessity is the mother of invention. Though in our case, it's more like desperation is the crazy aunt of innovation. Above them, through a transparent aluminum panel that had definitely not come from its original ship, another wave of Void Scourge vessels slipped into normal space. The massive living ships immediately began their attack on the Concordat fleet, their energy-draining weapons meeting the pristine shields of the alien vessels. Speaking of innovation, Maria continued, tapping her comm unit, Captain Rodriguez. That thing we discussed. It's ready, though I still think it's completely insane. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speaker, accompanied by what sounded suspiciously like someone hitting a console to make it work better. Insane is our specialty, Maria. High Commander Ixel has already agreed to coordinate with us. They're learning. Indeed, in the 2 weeks since their first encounter with the Void Scourge, the celestial Concordat had been forced to acknowledge that their perfect protocol-driven approach to space combat was failing against an enemy that defied conventional physics. The makeshift Miracle's success, while offensive to their sensibilities, couldn't be ignored. You cannot seriously be considering activating that contraption, Zar-Ith protested, gesturing at the massive device that occupied most of the engineering bay. It violates at least 27 safety protocols, 12 physical laws, and basic common sense. 28 safety protocols. Actually, Maria corrected cheerfully. We broke another one this morning. But you know what it doesn't violate? The laws of desperation. Cooper, start the music. Throughout the ship, speakers that had once announced dinner specials on a cruise liner began blaring what the humans called classic rock. The makeshift Miracles engines, a patchwork collection of different drive systems that somehow worked together, roared to life. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez watched as the Void-Scourge ships reacted to their approach. "They're taking the bait. All hands, prepare for Operation Empty. The jump drawer." "Empty the what?" High Commander Ixel's voice came through the comm, their usual crystalline clarity tinged with what might have been concern, curiosity, or possibly indigestion. "Remember how we used our garbage collection system as a weapon last time?" Elena explained, watching as Cooper's jury-rigged tactical display showed the enemy ships moving into position. "Well, we got to thinking. What else do we have lying around that might ruin their day?" The makeshift Miracles hull began to vibrate as Maria activated their latest innovation. Panels along the ship's exterior opened, revealing what appeared to be a collection of modified cargo launchers, mining beams, and what might have once been a planetary terraforming system. By the first light, Zarith whispered, their crystalline form vibrating in horror. "You've turned your entire ship into a weapon of mass improvisation." "Improvisation is just adaptation with style," Maria replied, initiating the launch sequence. "Now watch this." The human ship unleashed what could only be described as a barrage of organized chaos. Industrial cleaning nanites programmed to treat the Void-Scourge's energy-absorbing fields as tough stains. Modified terraforming compounds that reacted with the quantum structure of the living ships. Even a cloud of what appeared to be experimental coffee grounds that Cooper swore would really mess with their morning. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The Void-Scourge vessels, designed to consume and process pure energy, found themselves choking on a mixture of substances that defied their ability to categorize and absorb. Where one ship tried to consume the cleaning nanites, it found its energy-draining field being scrubbed away like stubborn bathroom mold. Another, attempting to process the terraforming compounds, began sprouting what appeared to be crystalline flowers across its hull. "Impossible," Ixel breathed, watching from their command ship as the mighty Void-Scourge fleet began to retreat in disarray. "Your weapons aren't even weapons." "Anything's a weapon if you're creative enough," Elena responded, unable to keep the pride out of her voice. "Though personally, I prefer to think of them as aggressive problem-solving tools." As the last of the Void-Scourge ships fled, leaving behind a scatter of crystalline flowers and what smelled suspiciously like fresh-brewed coffee, the celestial Concordat fleet hung in space, their perfect formations temporarily forgotten as they processed what they had just witnessed. "Captain Rodriguez," Ixel's voice was careful, measured. "The Concordat's High Council has requested technical advisors to assist in adapting our fleet to face this threat. Would your crew be willing to share your methodology?" Elena glanced at Maria, who was already sketching out plans for what looked like a combination of a quantum torpedo and a kitchen sink. "We'd be honored, High Commander. Though I should warn you, our first lesson might involve explaining why keeping spare parts is more important than keeping things pretty." As the human crew began preparations to teach the Concordat the fine art of creative engineering, Cooper's console sparked again, producing a small puff of smoke that smelled vaguely of cinnamon. "Just another day at the office," he muttered, reaching for the duct tape. Just another day at the office. The celestial Concordat's pristine engineering bay had never seen anything quite like Chief Engineer Maria Vasquez's improvement workshop, where once there had been perfectly aligned tools and mathematically optimized workstations. Now there was organized chaos. Spare parts from a dozen different species lined the walls, and a section of the floor had been deliberately scuffed to give it character. "The beauty of human engineering," Maria explained to a group of increasingly disturbed Concordat engineers, "isn't in making things perfect. It's in making them work when they shouldn't." Fleet Engineer Zarith, who had somehow become Maria's reluctant apprentice in human-style innovation, watched as she deliberately misaligned a quantum harmonizer. But the efficiency rating drops by 7.3% when you do that. Ah, but the adaptability rating goes up by 25%, Maria countered, tightening a bolt with what appeared to be a modified kitchen utensil. Perfect systems break perfectly. Imperfect systems learn to bend. Above them, through the engineering bay's observation window, the combined human Concordat fleet conducted maneuvers. The makeshift miracle now had company. 3 Concordat vessels had undergone what Maria called creative optimization. Their once pristine hulls now sported exposed support struts, modular attachment points, and what Captain Rodriguez had officially termed tactical irregularities. High Commander Ixel's voice came through the comm system, which now occasionally played human music during transmissions, a feature that no one had been able to remove. Engineer Vasquez, the Council demands a progress report on the integration project. Tell them it's going great, Maria responded, dodging a spray of sparks from a deliberately overcharged power coupling. We've successfully taught their ships to think outside the box. Literally, we removed some of the boxes. The past month had seen a fundamental shift in the war against the Void Scourge. After the success of the human tactics, the Concordat had reluctantly agreed to let their ships be optimized with human engineering principles. The results had been interesting. Incoming transmission from the UES Makeshift Miracle, announced a Concordat communications officer, their crystalline features arranged in what had become the standard expression of resigned acceptance. Captain Rodriguez's face appeared on the main screen, her usual confident grin in place. Maria, that modification you made to the Concordat's quantum lance array. It works. It works beautifully. The Void Scourge didn't know what hit them. The recursive uncertainty loop. Maria beamed proudly. I knew it would. If they can't predict what the weapon will do, they can't adapt to it. Sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy at all. You intentionally introduced chaos into our most precise weapon system, Zareth stated, their voice somewhere between accusation and amazement, and it improved its effectiveness by 42%. Welcome to human engineering, Maria winked, where working as intended is more of a suggestion than a requirement. The conversation was interrupted by a proximity alert. Through the observation window, they watched as a Void Scourge scout ship emerged from quantum space. But instead of the usual aggressive approach, this one seemed hesitant. They're learning, Rodriguez observed. They've figured out that our ships aren't what they seem. Good, Maria replied, already moving toward her workstation. That means it's time to change what we seem to be. Zareth, remember that crazy idea you had about quantum crystalline resonance? The Concordat engineer's features brightened. The one you said violated the laws of physics. That's the one. Let's do it. Sometimes the best ideas are the ones that shouldn't work. Over the next few hours, the engineering bay transformed into a workshop of controlled chaos. Concordat engineers, once rigid in their adherence to protocol, now worked alongside humans, combining their precise understanding of quantum mechanics with humanity's talent for creative improvisation. The result was a hybrid technology that defied conventional classification. Crystalline structures grown in deliberately irregular patterns, infused with human-style adaptive algorithms, power systems that operated on both mathematical precision and controlled instability. It's beautiful, Zareth whispered, watching as their creation came to life. In an entirely incorrect way. The best kind of beautiful, Maria agreed, making one final adjustment with her improvised tool. High Commander, we're ready for a test run. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez shared a knowing look with Ixel. The Concordat commander's crystalline form had developed subtle imperfections over the past month, marks of pride rather than flaws. The Council will want an explanation for these modifications, Ixel noted, though their tone suggested this was more of a formality than a concern. Tell them we're teaching their ships to dance, Rodriguez suggested. Sometimes the best way to win a fight is to change the rhythm. As if in response, the hybrid technology pulsed with a pattern that was both precise and unpredictable, a perfect embodiment of the emerging partnership between human chaos and Concordat order. You know, Zareth mused, watching their creation with growing appreciation. There's an old Concordat saying, "Perfection is the enemy of progress." I never understood it until now. Maria grinned, already sketching plans for their next impossible innovation. And there's an old human saying, "If it looks stupid but works, it isn't stupid." I think we're finally speaking the same language. The Void-Scourge scout ship, perhaps sensing the change in its adversaries, retreated back into quantum space. But this time, it left behind a trail of confused sensor readings and what appeared to be crystalline flowers, a signature of human Concordat engineering that was becoming famous across the galaxy. They're not just retreating anymore, Rodriguez observed. They're puzzled. And in my experience, once you get someone to question their assumptions, that's when real change begins. The combined fleet hung in space, a testament to the power of embracing imperfection. The makeshift miracle, once mocked for its patchwork construction, now led a new generation of vessels that were neither purely human nor purely Concordat, but something entirely new, and far more dangerous for it. So, Maria called out to her engineering team, both human and alien, who's ready to break some more laws of physics. The enthusiastic response, in multiple languages and crystalline harmonics, suggested that the evolution of engineering was just beginning. The Nova Madrid colony hung in space like a jewel in the void, its crystalline habitats glinting in the light of 3 suns. But today, those habitats were being evacuated, their usual sparkle dimmed by the swarms of escape pods racing toward the combined human Concordat fleet. "They're coming," Lieutenant Cooper announced from his station aboard the makeshift Miracle, his console now sporting a healthy mix of Concordat crystals and human duct tape. "Biggest Void-Scourge fleet we've ever seen. I'm counting. Well, the numbers keep changing, but it's bad." Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the center of her bridge, which had evolved into a hybrid command center that would have given traditional engineers nightmares. How many colonists still need evacuation? Too many. High Commander Ixel's voice came through the comm, their crystalline features set in grim determination. "We need at least 20 minutes to complete the evacuation. The Void-Scourge will be here in 10. Elena shared a look with her crew. Over the past 3 months, the makeshift Miracle had become the flagship of an entirely new kind of fleet. Every vessel in their defensive line now bore the marks of human Concordat collaboration, deliberate imperfections that housed revolutionary technologies. "Maria," Elena called down to engineering, "please tell me that insane thing you and Zareth have been working on is ready." "Define ready," Maria's voice crackled back, accompanied by what sounded like a small explosion and crystalline laughter. "If you mean will it work, probably. If you mean, is it safe? Absolutely not. If you mean, will it make the Void-Scourge regret every life choice that led them to this moment? Oh, definitely." Through the bridge viewport, Elena watched as the fabric of space began to tear. The Void-Scourge emerged like a nightmare given form, living ships that seemed to devour the light itself. But this time, they moved with obvious caution, their formation suggesting they'd learned to fear what the human Concordat fleet might do. "They remember us," Cooper grinned, his fingers dancing across his hybrid console. "Good. That means they can learn. And if they can learn, they can be taught a lesson," Elena finished. "All ships, execute Operation Broken Mirror." The combined fleet moved with choreographed chaos, breaking formation in ways that seemed random but followed a deeper pattern. Each ship activated its hybrid systems, producing energy signatures that were both precise and unpredictable, a symphony of controlled disorder that made targeting nearly impossible. "The Void-Scourge are responding exactly as predicted," Zareth reported from their position in the makeshift Miracle's engineering bay. "They cannot determine which energy signatures are real and which are decoys. The uncertainty is causing them visible distress. Elena watched as the massive alien fleet hesitated, their usual aggressive tactics stymied by the impossible readings they were receiving. Now for Phase 2. Maria, light up your new toy. With pleasure. The chief engineer's voice was filled with manic glee. Initiating the quantum uncertainty amplification network, though I still say we should have called it the really big Confuse-Otron. The device they'd spent months developing was a perfect fusion of Concordat precision and human chaos. It looked like someone had taken a quantum computer, crossed it with a kaleidoscope, and then asked a child to decorate it with spinning parts, but its effect was anything but childish. Waves of quantum distortion rippled through space, each one carefully calculated to interact with the Void Scourge's energy absorption fields in ways that defied prediction. Where the aliens attempted to consume energy, they found themselves processing paradoxes. Their attempt to adapt to one pattern would leave them vulnerable to 3 others. They're breaking formation, Cooper reported with satisfaction. The larger ships are showing signs of systemic confusion. Their energy absorption rates are dropping. Now, Ixal, Elena called out. Show them what perfect chaos looks like. The Concordat ships, once models of symmetry and order, revealed their new natures. Crystalline weapons that fired shots that somehow curved in impossible ways. Shield systems that failed in predetermined patterns, only to redirect the absorbed energy through human-designed recycling systems. The makeshift Miracle led the charge, its patchwork hull now a testament to the power of collaborative innovation. Each piece of scrap, each jury-rigged system, each imperfect solution had been refined and enhanced by Concordat technology, while maintaining its unpredictable nature. Void Scourge vessels are attempting to retreat, Cooper announced. But the quantum distortions are affecting their faster-than-light capabilities. They're trapped in normal space. Good. Elena's smile was fierce. Because we're not done teaching them about human engineering. Maria, remember how you said we shouldn't overload the quantum uncertainty drive because it might tear a hole in reality? Yeah? Time to tear a hole in reality. The makeshift Miracle's engines screamed as they pushed beyond their designed limits, which, given their hybrid nature, were already theoretical at best. The quantum uncertainty field collapsed in on itself, creating a cascading effect that rippled through the Void Scourge fleet. Living ships began to twist in impossible ways as their ability to process energy fundamentally broke down. Some simply shut down, their conscious systems overwhelmed by the chaos. Others tried to flee, only to find themselves flying in recursive patterns, trapped in loops of their own confusion. Colony evacuation complete, Ixal reported, their voice tight with restrained emotion. The Void Scourge fleet is in full retreat. Those that can still navigate, at least. Elena watched as the remaining enemy ships fled, leaving behind a graveyard of disabled vessels and quantum distortions that would take weeks to fully dissipate. Status report. The Miracle's engines are running at 200% of theoretical maximum, Maria reported cheerfully. Which shouldn't be possible, but apparently nobody told them that. We've got crystal growths in unusual places. The quantum core is singing what sounds like human pop songs, and I'm pretty sure we just invented 3 new types of physics. All in all, a good day's work. As the combined fleet regrouped around the Nova Madrid colony, Elena couldn't help but smile at how far they'd come. The makeshift Miracle, once mocked for its imperfections, had become the symbol of a new era in space warfare. One where the chaos of human innovation and the precision of Concordat engineering had created something greater than either could have achieved alone. You know, Cooper mused, watching the sensor readings settle into something approaching normal, I don't think they're going to mock human engineering anymore. Probably not, Elena agreed. But just in case they do. She gestured at Maria's latest project, which appeared to involve quantum-entangled rubber bands, and what might have been a modified toaster. We'll be ready to show them something new. The celestial Concordat's Grand Assembly Hall had never looked quite so human. Crystal-perfect architecture now sported deliberate asymmetries, and scattered throughout the massive chamber were display cases containing items that would have been unthinkable just months ago. A piece of duct tape that had saved a quantum drive, the first hybrid crystal grown in deliberately imperfect patterns, and even Maria Vasquez's infamous modified toaster that had somehow become essential to faster-than-light calculations. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood before the assembled Concordat High Council, the makeshift miracle visible through the hall's transparent dome above. The ship looked different now, still a patchwork of solutions, but with an elegant intentionality to its chaos. Crystalline growths sprouted from its hull in calculated patterns, and its exposed struts now housed technology that defied conventional classification. "The Void Scourge threat has been neutralized," Elena reported, her voice carrying through the perfect acoustics of the hall. "The remaining ships have retreated beyond the galaxy's edge. More importantly, we've confirmed they're actively avoiding any system that displays signs of human Concordat engineering." High Commander Ixel, their crystalline form now bearing proud asymmetries that would have been unthinkable before, stepped forward. "The Council has reviewed the battle data from Nova Madrid. What you achieved there, it challenges everything we thought we knew about engineering, about warfare, about progress itself." In the audience, Maria and Zareth sat together, both covered in engine grease from their latest project. The human engineer and her Concordat counterpart had become inseparable, their collaborative innovations spreading through both fleets like a benevolent virus of creative chaos. "That's the thing about progress," Elena smiled. "It rarely comes in the package you expect. Sometimes it arrives in a ship held together with spare parts and optimism." The Council's chief administrator, a being of pure crystalline thought, projected their words into the minds of all present. "We have called this assembly not merely to acknowledge victory, but to propose a fundamental change in Concordat doctrine. The human concept of imperfect solutions has proven itself beyond any doubt." Lieutenant Cooper, manning a console that now looked like a marriage between a quantum computer and a vintage arcade machine, grinned as he transmitted the proceedings to every Concordat world. "We're trending on their equivalent of social media," he whispered to Elena. "Apparently #human engineering is the most popular topic in 5 sectors." The chief administrator continued, their thoughts tinged with what felt like amusement. "Therefore, we propose the establishment of the Joint Innovation Academy, a place where human creativity and Concordat precision can merge, where the next generation of engineers will learn that perfection is not always perfect." The announcement sent ripples of excitement through the assembly. Already, dozens of Concordat ships had adopted what they called tactical imperfection, deliberate flaws that made their vessels more adaptable, more unpredictable, and paradoxically more effective. Furthermore, Ixel added, "We have a request for the crew of the makeshift miracle. Your vessels' unique characteristics have made it a symbol of this new era. We ask that it become the flagship of the Academy's training fleet." Elena glanced up at her ship, remembering how it had been mocked just months ago. "On one condition," she said, drawing curious looks from the Council. "We keep the duct tape. Some traditions are worth preserving." The laughter that rippled through the hall was genuine. Another change the Concordat had embraced. They had learned that humor, like imperfection, had its own kind of power. Maria stood up, unable to contain herself any longer. "Does this mean I can finally try that idea about quantum-entangled rubber bands? Because I have some theories about using office supplies for faster-than-light communication." Office supplies. Zareth's crystalline features arranged themselves into what had become their excited-about-impossible-things configuration. "What if we combine that with our new crystal growth techniques? The quantum resonance of a properly misaligned stapler could theoretically—" The Council watched with bemused acceptance as the two engineers launched into an enthusiastic discussion of what most would consider completely impossible ideas. But impossible had become a relative term since humans and the Concordat had joined forces. "There's an old human saying." Elena addressed the Council, watching as more ships bearing the marks of human influence moved into orbit above them. "Perfect is the enemy of good. But we've learned something new. Imperfection, properly applied, can be better than perfect. The chief administrator's thoughts radiated agreement. The Void Scourge taught us that adaptation is crucial for survival. You humans taught us that adaptation doesn't always mean becoming more perfect. Sometimes it means becoming more interesting. As if to emphasize the point, the makeshift Miracle's quantum core chose that moment to start humming what sounded suspiciously like an ancient human rock song. Engineers would later swear it was impossible, but nobody rushed to fix it. Some imperfections were worth keeping. To the future, Elena raised a hand in salute, a gesture the Concordat had adopted with their own crystalline variation. May it be perfectly imperfect. The assembly hall erupted in a celebration that mixed Concordat harmony with human chaos. Outside, ships of both species moved in formations that were precisely unpredictable, their hybrid technology a testament to what could be achieved when different ways of thinking came together. And somewhere in the makeshift Miracle's engineering bay, a newly installed plaque bore words in both human and Concordat script. If it looks stupid but works, it isn't stupid. Below it, someone, probably Maria, had added in smaller text, results may vary, but that's kind of the point. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what both species had been hoping for.